How do we navigate the cracks in the matrix right now is something I'm very curious about. In many ways, most of us, I think the majority of the population on Earth right now is one in lockdown. And so their means of communicating with the world is through the digital interface. And most people are on a receiving mode of that digital interface, which is very dangerous because human is very innocent in many ways. The mind is very receptive, and imagery and words and the technology of mind control and propaganda is extremely powerful. So the combination of information and the light that is coming from our digital devices is something to pay very close attention to, because it's basically bonding us to a matrix of unnaturalness, for one thing, and a barrage of information. Most of it is completely manufactured to fit the agenda of the people who control the information for good reasons, to keep human in bondage. So first we have to be aware of that we are in bondage. So how do we navigate the cracks in the matrix is going to be the topic of this conversation with myself at the river here in beautiful Delia, New Mexico, by the Pecos River. So one thing we can do is to limit our screen time. I hear friends of mine talking about admitting that they're addicted to information. They're addicted to social media. They're addicted to the threads of drama that's going on the screens, whatever screen you're looking at. That's the danger of media, the danger of devices readily available to us at any time. It's creating a barrage of information that's saturating the human field with both garbage, a lot of it, and a light that in its design is meant to keep human docile. Why? Because if human awakens, human will realize that he, she, they are in bondage, not free, manipulated, lied to, oppressed, stressed, and the list is very long. So limiting screen time is a thing that we all need to practice. Even if you just do 1 hour less screen time a day, and then you do 2 hours, and then you do a full day, and notice what happens. Because if you continue exposing yourself, if we continue exposing ourselves to the same field of energy, it's energy coming at us, then we can't really extract ourselves from the influence of that energy, which is, if we're not using it properly, we become very passive, brainwashed, and easily manipulated. So limiting our screen time is critical. And really noticing the arising of something else within self as a result of stepping out of that bombardment of both news, information, entertainment, publicity and light, the vibration of that which comes out of a screen, whatever you call it. The second thing is to expose ourselves, our eyes in particular, to natural things. Anything that's not man-made, anything that's not linear, anything that's not artificial. So the more you can stare at trees and dogs and children and beautiful things that are of a natural beingness, or it's a different kind of light that comes into your being through your eyes, and it helps rewire your brain with a natural pattern. It's compensating for the rest of the artificial information that we receive, which is very, very toxic to the human spirit and the human evolution. It's suppressing human evolution. This is what's going on right now. Is human is at a threshold of evolution, and the COVID and the restrictions and the lockdowns and the social distancing and the mask and people being in front of a screen is pushing human down into the lowest pits of its beingness, preventing evolution from taking place, preventing awakening from taking place. It's something we need to be very aware of. Other ways to navigate the cracks in the matrix is to pay very close attention to everything. Everything is talking to us in our field of perception, within and without. So now maybe the wind is covering my voice, and maybe there's a purpose for that. Maybe the vibration of the wind is something that is activating something within you that needs to be activated. When we're shielded from the elements, when we're shielded from everything that's natural, we're not functioning as a human being. We're functioning as a subhuman being, a slave, a domesticated creature. And evolution right now is calling us to step out of the matrix of enslavement and give ourselves a birthright freedom to evolve. And we don't know what that evolution is going to look like. A lot of it is probably going to be in terms of perception, sensitivity, telepathy, health, creativity, well-being, good relationships, fun, joy, things that are not really in most people's lives right now, or most people's lives in general, even before COVID. And the more we pay attention and the more we follow these arising of evolutionary impulses, whatever they are, call this old friend, or grab this book, or take a walk to this place, or don't go to work today, or change your patterns, or go to bed earlier, or wake up earlier. Whatever these impulses are, if we follow them, they will guide us into a habit of trusting the evolutionary impulse that's afoot. If we don't pay attention, we miss the boat. So we have to be very alert, very attentive, very courageous, very daring, very adventurous, very curious in noticing the subtleties of our perception right now and act accordingly. One of the things that really helps is this notion of self-love. Like, this is a very good place to start. You know, obeying is not self-love. Complying to stupid rules that don't make any sense is not self-love. Conforming because everybody else is doing it is not self-love. It's just being on autopilot like a robot, like a slave, in fear. So even being observant to a level of fear within our being is a very good place. Question the fear. Is it natural or is it artificial? It's not an easy time we're in because waking up is not easy. It's confusing, it's chaotic, it's bizarre. You know, the creative process of an evolutionary leap, because it's not just a little leap we're called to make, it's a very large leap, it seems, like a metamorphosis. And we don't know what we're going to emerge into. We don't know what our level of perception is going to be. We don't know what our abilities are going to be. They're going to be great. It's built in the creative process of creation. When a being evolves, it doesn't just, evolve one wing and forget about evolving the other wing. There's a perfection in creation that makes the evolutionary process something that always go into the better to be better equipped for the conditions that we're now having to face. So navigating the matrix of evolution is trust, as an element of trust in it. We have to trust. We have to be so brave to let ourselves evolve to what we're supposed to become. It's not something that you can find a blueprint in a book. That's the old school of, religion and spirituality and all that. Yeah, I mean, they have good, principles and, but really we are right now at the threshold of this leap, and we got to embrace it. It's not something we can just tiptoe around it or drag our feet around. We have to really trust and observe and take note, because the elements of activation are obvious. And they should be obvious in the amount of suppression on all levels to keep human the world over from freeing itself. And freeing in a very large sense of evolving out of that subhumanness that human has been kept in through colonization and commerce and media and politics and religion and everything else that divides people and keep them in a state of subhumanness. So we have an interesting road ahead. But we have to begin with a question or questions. Is life the way we've lived it as a modern human really what life is about? Or has it been delivered to us in a way that we are now so immersed in it that we can't see outside of that life? But if we're constantly exposing ourselves to a narrative that affirms a smallness and limitations and fears and dangers and enemies and divisions and all kinds of things that are absolutely unnatural, we're perpetually kept in a state of smallness in our beingness. So we have to start really questioning, is this life? Is this the life that we're supposed to live? Or have we been really sold a crappy bill of goods? So we have to disengage from the mechanical aspects of the life that's been pushed on us. That includes a concept of time, a concept of money, concept of health, and everything else that defines our lives. We have to step out of these elements to rediscover ourselves as humans. And from that place of increasing sovereignty, then we have a place to trust, to evolve from, to let ourselves evolve. It's not something that we really have a choice in. We can choose to go to sleep and die in our spirit, or we let that evolution take place. The Hopis talk about the fact that it's going to feel like a river and we're pulled into the middle of the river, and they talk about letting go of the shore. Question is, what do they mean by the shore? For me, it's like everything that defines our life that is not true, that is not natural, that keeps us in bondage, whether it's our relationships or habits or jobs or definition of self or everything else that is no longer serving us. This is probably the shores that they talk about. And we have to have the courage to let go of all these concepts of selves and culture and whatever else makes our lives. It's for each one of us to take a look. And we have to let ourselves go into that river, which has a destination. We have to trust that that river has a destination. That destination is the new state of human being, as it's meant to be on the planet, as it was designed by creation. And we have to have a faith in trusting that that destination is glorious. Fear is what's in the way. Fear is how we're manipulated. Fear is what propaganda works on to keep people in bondage. So we have to trust. We have to be very brave, and we have to surrender at the same time. It's a very maddening process that we have to get used to. If we don't, the results will be obvious. So I want to finish in saying that it's not a matter of convincing other people to do their own work, to do their own trusting, their own discovery, their own observation. You know, we have to do it within the self and trust that the vibration that we're stepping into, the beingness that we're becoming, will join with the rest of the beingness that is evolving in other beings. You know, we can be caring and compassionate and helpful in the process, but we can't do it for anybody. We can only do it ourselves and inspire other beings by what we do, or how we are, or how we vibrate, or our level of health, or our level of creativity, or our level of beauty, or kindness, or courage. So that's it for today. And I give thanks to the river for always inspiring me. So I want to wish you a fantastic day, or fantastic evening, or fantastic morning, wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever time of the day it is. And wish you the best of luck and courage and bliss, really, in that process of evolution, because it's underway. And the best thing we can do is embrace it. So just like the river, just trust and flow and listen. And know that there's a destination. I love you.